Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I've got Nickolas Gilbert with me. Hey, Nickolas.
Hello.
All right, we just finished recording an interview, and now we are doing the 4 questions with Nickolas, which hopefully you know, but if you don't know, it's favorite films of all time, an underrated film, an overrated film, and a lesser-known film that people should seek out. And before Nickolas gives those answers, I'm going to mention that he wrote and directed Nailed, which was at a festival that I programmed. That's Filmvasion Los Angeles. It was there in 2020. It kicks ass. I love that film. In fact, I like it so much that it is in the Discover Indie Film TV series. You can watch Nailed if you go to Amazon Prime Video and go to Season 4, Episode 3. You should probably just get the whole season. But if you want a really good, smart, funny, visually impressive, maybe the word is stunning. I was going to say visually stunning comedy because it just looks great. And it's really a ton of fun. Kind of sexy and fun. Sexy, funny, silly, everything. So you should watch this film, Nailed. But the cool thing is, actually, when Nickolas was at the virtual festival of Filmvasion Los Angeles in 2020, we talked about some of his influences. So I'm actually really looking forward to Nickolas's answers to the 4 questions. So I'm just going to... I've mentioned the Prime Video thing where you can see his film. Now I'm just going to let him talk about his favorites. In fact, I guess I'll say this out loud. I'm not texting while you're talking. I'm writing down your answers on my phone as you answer. So let us know your favorites.
Okay, so favorites are really hard for me because my brain really doesn't organize things that way. So I interpret the question in terms of categories. You know, what are some of my favorite films in specific categories rather than overall? And so I'm going to go with the crime category. And in the crime genre, I would say the Coen brothers' Miller's Crossing. I think it's a fantastic film, loosely based on Dashiell Hammett's work. You know, it is your kind of classic noir detective, even though Gabriel Byrne, who stars in it, isn't exactly a detective. But I think it's really classy. It's really fun. It's one of those films that has lots of twists and turns. The dialogue in it is noir, like noir you've never heard before. I think they made up half of the words in it, but it feels completely authentic.
Are you giving me the hi-hat?
Yeah, I'm giving you the hi-hat.
I had to interrupt, but like if a bell could have gone off when you said Miller's Crossing, it's not often that people name something in my top 3, but Miller's Crossing is fantastic. I think Miller's Crossing is perfect cinema.
Yeah, it's perfect. And by far, I think the best Coen brothers film. By far. You got Barry Sonnenfeld as a DP right before he's directing. You've got the beginning of their work with Carter Burwell.
And every frame, every scene is as beautiful as a painting.
It is. It really is. It's
remarkable. And the script I think it's the best script they've written.
Yeah, it's tight. You got Steve Buscemi.
And groundbreaking.
You got John Turturro. Yeah, it's great. Albert Finney. A cameo by Sam Raimi. It's got everything.
Actually, Albert Finney is remarkable in that film. No,
Did you know that in the bathroom scene when Gabriel Byrne bursts in on Marcia Gray Harden, Albert Finney is actually dressed up in drag and wearing one of the outfits?
I did not know that.
Yeah, watch it again. He's the one by the door wearing the black dress in drag.
Really? Oh my God.
It's great.
Oh God, yeah, I love. And honestly, it was groundbreaking in so many ways. Yep. The gay subplot.
Oh yeah, total.
No, and you never had that in a Hollywood film.
No, you never do. And it's masked really well, right? I mean, you have to think about because they never come out and say it, right? It's just kind of in the background. You got to think about it for a second. And I mean, once you realize what's going on with these characters, it's on the nose. But
you have Giovanni Gasparo or Johnny Casper saying,
He's Eddie Dane's boy.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so, yeah, it might be, I mean, all their films are so quotable, but if you know Miller's Crossing, it's as quotable as Big Lebowski for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Excellent. I love your first choice.
All right. Number 2. Foreign film isn't exactly a genre, but I didn't want to put Fellini in his own genre. But La Dolce Vita is definitely up there. And I think for me, it just has to do with the time that I saw it first in my life. You know, I was in high school, and it was unlike anything that I'd ever seen before. You know, I was really just starting to watch foreign films at that time in my life. And this is the time when, like, you know, Jurassic Park and Terminator 2 are coming out, and all American films are going towards this popcorn spectacle thing. And then I see something, not that that La Dolce Vita isn't full of spectacle, because it certainly is. But it just blew me away. I mean, it's structured completely differently than anything that I've ever seen. It's period. And I think it really quintessentially encompasses that time that it was made. And it's Fellini. It has a Fellini factor. Yeah. And it has the Marcello Mastroianni.
Yeah. And the cinematography is insane.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It works really good.
Yeah.
The script, it took me a long time to figure out how it was structured, but it's in 7 acts, and each act is a different day. It's basically a week in the life of Marcello Mastroianni's character, called Marcello.
It's funny because I haven't seen it since the late 80s, because life is life.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, hearing you mention it makes me, I really need to see it again. Yeah. I mean, the last time I saw it, I was in college, and it was when they showed it at like the college theater.
Yeah. Well, it's worth going back and revisiting again.
Oh, yeah.
And some of it's really campy. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is how they made movies then in Italy. But then as I watched it, and I've watched it many, many times, I realized that it was campy intentionally, right? I mean, they're really shoving it on and going over the top. Fellini is in a lot of places. Another thing that really set with me was kind of the story behind it, and the main character, Marcello, is this guy who wants to be writing books, but he's stuck, writing this pulp, or not even pulp, but like magazine fluff, right? And I've really felt like that a lot in my career too. Like, I'm working on these television commercials, but I really want to be making these movies, right? So in one sense, it's one of the ways that it really resonated with me as well.
For sure. All right, so there's a third genre or a third category?
Yeah, I'm going to go with animation, and I'm not a huge animation guy, but The Red Turtle, the French film, and I don't even know who directed it or the studio behind it or anything, but check it out. It's a wonderful film. Not a lot of people have seen it, but it's really, really powerful for me because it's so stripped down to the essence. It's basically about, well, there'd be too many spoilers in telling you what it's about, but it's just stripped down to the most important, essential things in life, and everything else is just thrown out. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful film. I
haven't seen it. I haven't heard of it.
The Red Turtle.
All right.
I would say it's about a red.
Your lesser known to seek out, but
we'll get there.
Oh, excellent.
Underrated film. I'm going to go with Tony Gilroy's Michael Clayton. I think everybody knows Tony Gilroy mostly as a screenwriter. He wrote all the Bourne stuff and a bunch of other things. I think he wrote Rogue One too, and is doing one of the new Star Wars series that's coming out. But he's only directed, I think, 3 or 4 films, and Michael Clayton is possibly one of the best films ever made. It's not classically structured. The story isn't told chronologically, but it's one of those films that dole out just the perfect amount of information to keep you asking what happens next. The casting is great. You've got Clooney at his prime, Sidney Pollack acting, which is fantastic.
Who is always actually amazing when he acts.
Yeah,
and Tilda's
in it as well. Tom Wilkinson.
That might have been when I first was discovering her.
Oh, yeah,
in a way. I can't think of
The Beach.
An earlier. Oh, The Beach. I never saw The Beach.
Oh, okay. Well, watch it and then we'll talk. I could throw The Beach in one of those underrated things as well. People look at it with sort of the Leonardo DiCaprio level of fluff, but it actually is a really good film, and it really took the temperature of that time. I remember that era, and I remember people like starting to go to Thailand for the first time and like doing that summer backpacking in Europe. And I don't know, it really spoke to me a lot, but I had to get over like the fluff aspects of it. And Tilda's great in it. She's not. Well, I'll just leave
she's
it at that.
Great in everything. Great. I would assume. She's just remarkable. Michael Clayton's a great film. Yeah, I haven't seen that one since it was in theaters.
Yeah. Watch it again.
And I had no idea that the writer-director, I didn't know that he was involved in all that other stuff, to be honest. I was blind to that, but I actually am one of those people who argues that Rogue One's the best Star Wars film ever made.
It's definitely up there. I'm not sure it's the best, but it's definitely up there.
I think it's better than anything since the first one, actually.
Okay, all right.
But the one I saw in 1977... Yeah. Which was a little film called Star Wars with no words after that, no colon. That was actually the best film for me.
Yeah.
But anyhow. All right, now I get to hear your overrated.
Well, I'm going for the easy answer here. I'm just going to say anything in the Marvel camp. It's just all overrated. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for spectacle in popcorn films. But just remember, if you keep watching Marvel films, they're going to keep making them, and it's at the expense of original content getting made. So your ticket supports original content not getting made when you go to a Marvel film.
Right. So there's a bigger picture to your condemnation or saying it's overrated, right?
Yeah. And I mean, and it's a huge genre too. I mean, like the first Iron Man was fun, right? There's no question about that. I hear the Doctor Strange stuff is really good. And so I don't really want to condemn all of the Marvel stuff, but think about the big picture, right? And think about what your financial contribution to those films does to independent film.
And really, I mean, I'm with you. I did watch them all. Because,
yeah, I mean, they can be fun. They can be fun.
Involved and it's fun. But I mean, watching them, I'm always reminded of why, like, I watched, so when Iron Man came out in theaters, it was a fun movie. It was great. Yeah. And then Iron Man 2, and you're like, eh. Then Iron Man 3, you're like, I can't watch this anymore. Yeah. Like, I get it. Hero, villain almost wins, hero wins. Yep. Like, it's just so boring.
It is.
And they managed to make the MCU interesting for a minute because of Thanos. Like, they ran the Thanos story through it all.
Didn't get that far.
Yeah, you didn't get to it. But, yeah, it is devastating to think that not only did it
comes at
push
a price.
A lot of stuff out, it also sort of made actors irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because now, like, no one has a name anymore. Like they thought maybe, one of the Chris's would have a name. But you put a Chris in another movie and it's not guaranteed to succeed.
Right. True.
Because now you need a superhero to sell it.
Yeah.
And whoever wears that spider suit is the star. It's not really Tom.
Yeah. Oh, well, that might be a good segue into my last answer. A lesser known film that people should seek out. So it's actually a tie. And I was first going to go with Tom Tykwer's Perfume, The Story of a Murderer, which we can talk about in a second. But I'm going to start with Under the Silver Lake. Because what's his name? Spider-Man is in it. So that's my segue. I can't remember off the top of my head who directed Under the Silver Lake, but it's brilliant. I don't know what genre it would be, a stoner mystery maybe, if that's a genre.
But it should be.
But I think it's one of those films that like keeps pushing the envelope of how strange it can get while still keeping the audience. Right. I mean, it's a completely improbable film, but the way that they dole out information keeps you hooked in. Right. It keeps me. It doesn't have me asking what happens next. It more has me asking what's happening now. But I think that with this genre, it's a viable substitute. So check it out, Under the Silver Lake.
I looked it up. It's David Robert Mitchell.
Yeah.
Directed, and Andrew Garfield, is the Spider-Man.
Yep.
By the way, the 14-year-old I live with, she says that he's the best-looking Spider-Man. so now I get to watch Under the Silver Lake with my stepdaughter because Andrew Garfield's in it.
There you go. Perfect. He made a film before that called It Follows, which is a genre piece, which is also worth looking at. And that got him on the map to make this. And I'm sure that making this as his follow-up probably pissed off a lot of executives, but I think it was great, and it's really, really bold filmmaking, and more people need to make some of the choices that he made and take the chances that he made.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard of it, so that's a good lesser known to seek out. And Perfume.
Yeah, Perfume, The Story of a Murderer, Tom Tykwer's film. A lot of people may know him originally as the guy that did Run Lola Run, which was a big festival hit back in the day. And then, he made this Clive Owen, Naomi Watts thing that I'm forgetting what it's called off the top of my head, which is good. And Babylon Berlin, he was involved with, which is on Netflix now, which is definitely worth watching. But it's really fantastic, and it's a really beautiful, Perfume, The Story of a Murderer is a really beautifully told story about a subject that's really, really sinister. In the English version, it has John Hurt doing the voiceover. It's really, really fantastic voice. Dustin Hoffman's in it. Really great performance by him. Definitely worth checking out. Oh yeah, Alan Rickman's in it too.
Alan, I know. I'm looking. Yeah, Rachel Hurdwood, Dustin Hoffman. Mm-hmm. All right. Excellent.
Yeah. So lots of viewing for you tonight.
Lots of I believe me, I wish I had the time to watch everything. But yeah, that sounds not only that, but now you make me want to go back and watch films I've long forgotten.
Oh, that's great.
Not only that, but I haven't forced the kid to watch Miller's Crossing yet.
14?
14.
Yeah, that's close.
I think she's about ready.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it
I should start with Raising Arizona. I think isn't that the best entry for a young person to get into Coen Brothers?
Don't start with Blood Simple. Don't do it chronologically.
No, you can't do Blood Simple. I don't think she's.
But Miller's Crossing isn't gratuitously violent. I mean, there's a couple of getting beat up scenes, but like the Tommy gun play and stuff, it's not as violent as a Marvel film.
It's almost I mean, it's funny because it reminds me of another favorite film, although it's not in my top. I've struggled with it. Of course, as you pointed out, it's hard to do favorite films.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Children of Men, and that Gabriel Byrne, as the hero, is never really being aggressive and never has a gun in his hands, except there's one moment where he shoots someone at the very end. But like, Gabriel Byrne, as the hero of that story, is the least violent. He's a purely thinking man.
Yeah.
Purely thinking character, and he's just handling himself through a difficult situation solely with his mind, which the anti-Schwarzenegger in a way. And I say that because Miller's Crossing was from, I think, 1980.
89 or 90. Something like that.
No, I think I was a junior in college when it came out. Yeah, so it was like, damn, that was good.
I know. Yeah, and you think about the other stuff that was being made at that time period. It's not like any of it.
No, that's when like Commando was big.
Yeah.
And The Abyss. I think The Abyss, which was a great film, but but still, that was the era.
Not, intellectual isn't quite the right word for it, but visceral. It's not as visceral.
I have to add a techie nerdy thing because I think we can share. I can share this with you, and you're one of the few people who appreciate it. But I remember Barry Sonnenfeld explaining that when they shot Miller's Crossing, they knew it would be widescreen in the theater, but they actually shot it for 4:3 because they knew it would actually live on VHS.
Yep, sure.
So the VHS was not a pan and scan, was not anything. It was they shot that frame, and then they knew the theater would be with the top and bottom chopped out. Yep. So it's actually that's like one of the best. The funny thing is, I bet the DVD is cropped.
Yeah, it's I go back and look at my DVDs, and I made sure to that always says the aspect ratio on the back of it. And when I was buying them, all Blu-rays are 16:9 or matted, cropped, but DVDs weren't, right. So some of them were pan and scan, some of them were straight crops, and some of them were actually in the right aspect ratio and letterbox. And you make sure that you don't buy the pan and scan version.
For sure. But it's so cool that Miller's Crossing was made that way.
Yeah.
Like, I think it might be the only film I've ever heard of that where they knew it was going to survive on. It wasn't going to be big box office. It was going to be home video.
Yeah. Well, when we were doing television commercials, in the early 2000s, we would always, we would shoot everything 16:9, but then we would put the hash marks on the monitor to frame to make sure that we covered everything in 4:3 because some asshole in Iowa still has a cathode ray tube television,
Yeah, for sure. You still see them. All right, Nickolas, that was excellent.
All right.
Excellent
Thank
list.
you very much.
You want to give people your web address?
Sure, yeah. You can just go to distortionfield.tv, check out some of my work, and also the video on Amazon.
Yeah, go to Amazon Prime Video and search for Discover Indie Film. And do that on a big TV or some other monitor, not on your phone. And that is the TV series that was born out of this podcast. Simple process. Film festival Q&As were too short for me. I started talking to people on a podcast, found out that all the features were going to streaming and the shorts weren't. So we put together a TV series of all the best shorts that have been at the festival. And Nickolas's film Nailed is one of them. So go to Discover Indie Film on Amazon Prime Video. Go to Season 4 if you want to see Nickolas's film Nailed. It's in Episode 3. And as long as I'm talking about that, that's discoverindiefilm.com. You can learn more about the podcast and TV series. At DIF Wins is the social media for it. And I might add, give the TV series 5 stars. Give the podcast stars or thumbs up or whatever the F is out there. It's funny. If you want to, I know if you want to review the podcast or rate it, like you can't do it on your podcast app. Even like Apple, you've got to go into iTunes or something, and that's where you can review. And it's crazy. But anyway, be nice, give reviews. Nickolas's film Nailed, I first saw it because it was an official selection at Filmvasion Los Angeles in June of 2020. If you want to learn about that festival, go to filmvasionla.com, and it's at FilmvasionLA on social media. And the sister festival is the Sherman Oaks Film Festival, which you can learn about If you go to ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. That one's every November. That's why my life is somewhat mellow this time of year, because there's a festival in June and one in November. And January, I almost get to feel like I'm a human being. Nice. Yeah, catch up, get another season of the TV series done. But then, thanks, Nickolas, for coming in.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And thank you, everyone who's listening.
Thanks, guys.